So you want EVs, you want cheap EVs, but apparently we don't want cheap EVs from China. I don't really know what's going on in this area, but apparently Biden wants to raise the tariff on EVs 400%. Do I have that right, Taylor?
Yes. Yeah. So the current tariff on Chinese EVs into the US is 25%, and he wants to take it to 102, baby.
102%. Now, you typically you do tariffs when you think maybe there's some underhanded things going on by the seller, which
Yep.
it's China, so you have to count on that. Probably is,
Yep.
but also you do it to protect your market. And I don't know about you, but everything I look about EVs in the United States, the demand is off. People aren't buying them. They want hybrids, not pure electrical. So is this just what is? I mean, what's the rationale?
I think that they have incentivized the hell out of our auto industry to change over to EVs. And now they're
Yes.
going, uh-oh, the market actually isn't demanding this. So we need to protect our investment in domestic EVs. And I think that Elon Musk is on this. And there are a lot of other auto analysts that were in China seeing BYD, which is the big EV producer in China, and saying, wow, this car is actually amazing. And I read a quote from someone like, US EV market's in trouble if BYD is allowed in the US. And so when you look at that, it's like the understanding is you have to realize that it is massively government subsidized. BYD is, and that's why the
Oh, for
prices
sure.
are so darn low, right? So that's what the government is trying to ward off, to say, hey, we can't have them come in here, eat our lunch, and because it's not because they can produce a car so much more efficiently than
Yeah.
we can, it's because the government's paying for half of it.
That's the key, right? If and that's where tariffs should be, right? You have to have an equal playing field. And if their government is subsidizing half the cost, it's not a fair fight.
No, and that's the case. You think about TikTok in the US is kind of a similar story where, like, listen, our social media platforms aren't allowed in China. And now there's this massive outrage as to the US is going to ban TikTok. And it's like, well, it's kind of tit for tat at the end of the day. And it's funny, I did read a stat just recently that Gen Z, and this is also a survey that was the institute that did the survey is trusted by Andreessen, by Walmart, by Costco. So they run surveys for these private companies that are the top of the top as well. And they said Gen Zs, 32% of Gen Zs surveyed said if the presidential candidate changes his mind on TikTok, their decision to vote for the other candidate will happen. So it is a massive. Now, granted, that's just Gen Z, and that's probably who it's the most important to. But nonetheless, holy shit.
Yeah, that'll make you pucker up if you're thinking about doing that. I actually think the craziest thing about TikTok is what it shows the American consumer versus what it shows the Chinese consumer. One platform is very educational, motivational, and one is just dumb people dancing. It's wild.
Which one of those do we have?
The first.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's funny. How did you? I have not seen that.
Yeah, so we have family overseas, and I was shown the app of someone who
Interesting.
has. Yeah, it's wild. It almost doesn't look like the same app,
Really?
right? The interface is the same, but yeah, it's what they and now some of this could have been the person I was looking, the shoulder I was looking over, but I was like, I pulled out mine. I was like, holy cow, it's not even the same thing. It's crazy.
That is nuts. Yeah, but it is so interesting that like on one side of the equation, you know, I hate most politicians. So let me preface this. But let me
Come
just
on.
tell you that their job is hard, because look at this fine line they're trying to walk right now, where inflation is okay, maybe an issue. But they're also trying to invigorate the US EV market and bring jobs back to the US. So what they're doing undoubtedly is an inflationary pressure right now. If you
Oh,
are
no
going to
doubt.
stiff arm a low cost EV provider from coming in and providing their vehicles, that is unequivocally an inflationary pressure, which is a problem right now. But then they're trying to sing out of the other side of their mouth and say, listen, we're bringing jobs back to the US, so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
it's this crazy battle that they have to kind of walk the fine line on. And what they do is they tell you all the positives. They're never going to make a comment that, hey, us banning Chinese imports, essentially, which is what they're doing, is an inflationary pressure. They're not going to say that. They're going to say we're going to ban Chinese imports because we're going to bring all these jobs back to Middle
Yeah.
America.
Jobs,
who's now
jobs,
gonna build-
jobs. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to think about. So again, 102% tariff. So let's take the $30,000 car and make it 60.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
That's
Exactly
pretty
right.
wild.
And that prices Tesla directly beneath them. And Elon Musk did say, and granted, because when I first read it, I was like, well, this is very, very self-fulfilling for Elon Musk. But he said we need to put tariffs on these. And then as you read down through, you see how big the government subsidy is for China. And you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, I think he's right on this one. You can't go into a boxing match with weighted gloves. It's just not how it's supposed to work. Taylor, yeah, there you go. Taylor, where can people find you?
Yeah, find us on Instagram and on TikTok. We're at Life Goal Investments.
Thank you.